Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to the channel. This is IMAX Sports, another football video, and today I'm going over my NFL MVP predictions, I guess I would call it. I'm going to be going over each of the top MVP candidates, explaining some of their statistics, and some of the reasons why I think one or the other may or may not be better than others for MVP candidates for the NFL season this year. Let's get right into it. First off, we have Justin Jefferson at number 5. Obviously, he's not going to win it. He's a wide receiver. But just in the off chance that he does get 2,000 yards, obviously it's not even an off chance at this point. It's very probable. Then I really don't think that it's going to happen, simply because he doesn't have enough touchdowns. But he has 123 catches for 1,756 yards and 8 touchdowns on the season, with 1 rushing touchdown. He leads the NFL in receiving yards. He has potentially 2,000 yards on the year for the first time ever. 2 top catches of all time in the Bills game and in the consecutive one. And then multiple games single-handedly where he just won the game for the Vikings. Or in games where he single-handedly was their entire offense and they still lost. The only thing that kind of is saying he won't get it is because Cooper Kupp last year had an arguably better season with more touchdowns, twice as many touchdowns, about the same amount of yards, and he still didn't win it. And so if Cooper Kupp wasn't able to get it last year, then Jefferson probably won't be able to get it this year. But I just wanted to give him some respect putting him on this list, because I think that even if he probably has about a 1% chance of getting the award, definitely deserves to be in the conversation. Moving on to number 4, we have Josh Allen. Josh Allen is 340 of 536 on the year for 4,029 yards, 32 touchdowns, 13 picks, and a 96.1 passer rating. He has 115 carries for 746 yards and 7 touchdowns, and he's top 5 in both yards and touchdowns in the league this season. Some other important stats that I included for the quarterbacks: 63.4% completion percentage on the year, 7.5 yards per attempt, 11.8 yards per completion, and a 70.5 QBR, which are all pretty close to Hurts and Mahomes. They're all higher than Burrow's, but not quite as high as Mahomes or Hurts, although he has the lowest completion percentage at 63.4. He has 3 fourth quarter comebacks, 4 game-winning drives, and the only thing holding him back is, again, he's not 13-1, and his turnovers. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is 13-1. Which benefits him in the MVP race, and Josh Allen's only real drawback is his turnovers. Not on top of his 13 interceptions, he has a number of fumbles, and they have lost a couple of games because of those turnovers, but they've also won games that he's turned the ball over 1 million times because he's throwing really well. I gave him a 9% chance, only 1% lower than Joe Burrow, because I think that the winner of Bills-Bengals will have a better chance at the MVP spot. I put Burrow higher than Josh Allen by 1% simply because I think that his stats are slightly better, but I think they're pretty much tied right now. Joe Burrow has 4,260 yards and 247 rushing yards, so he has around 4,500. Josh Allen has around 4,800 total yards right now, so Josh Allen has more yards, but Joe Burrow has more touchdowns and less turnovers. They both have 39 touchdowns, but Joe Burrow has better passing stats, 34 touchdowns, 12 picks, and 102.3 passer rating compared to Josh Allen's 96. 72 carries for 247 yards and 5 touchdowns. He's number 2 in touchdowns and yards in the league for passing. And other stats, he has a 69% completion percentage, which is considerably higher than Josh Allen's. 6% higher. Josh Allen's at 63%. 7.6 yards per attempt, which is same as Josh Allen, but the yards per completion is lower because of the completion percentage, and a 61.3 QBR. I know most people use passer rating over QBR. I think that QBR is relevant, more relevant when it's extremely high or extremely low. If someone has an 80 QBR, obviously that is extremely impressive. If somebody has below a 40 QBR, then obviously that's horrible. But anything between that, I think that it's kind of a useless stat. I think the pass rating is a little bit more telling, but it really I don't really know exactly what goes into QBR for statistics, so I don't really like talking about it much. I know exactly what statistics go into pass rating and how it works, but I don't really know the intricacies of QBR. He also has 3 fourth quarter comebacks and 4 game-winning drives. And again, the only thing holding him back, not 13-1, interceptions. I don't think he has as many fumbles as Josh Allen, so I didn't put turnovers as a whole, but interceptions for sure. Moving on, we have Jalen Hurts at number 2. Jalen Hurts has completed 286 of his 425 pass attempts for 3,472 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions, a pass rating of 104.6. He has 156 carries on the ground for 747 yards and 13 touchdowns, giving him 4,200 yards and 35 total touchdowns. He's 13-1 in 2022. Other stats include 67.3% completion percentage, considerably higher than Joe Burrow, a little lower than Josh Allen. Higher yards per attempt at 8.2, higher yards per completion at 12.1, higher QBR at 68.8, slightly lower than Josh Allen's. Again, I'm not sure exactly what goes into that. They're both running quarterbacks. So I guess Josh Allen's is slightly higher because of his passing stats, but the interceptions are way different. So again, I kind of want to look that up now to kind of see what goes into it. He has one fourth quarter comeback and 2 game-winning drives, which is a little lower than Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, but those usually aren't used as MVP measurements unless it's a tiebreaker, and I think that Jalen Hurts would outright win over Joe Burrow or Josh Allen at this point currently. The only thing holding him back, in my opinion, is missing games and his passing stats. Because he's missing games, his passing stats will probably finish the season at 3,400 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 5 picks. A lot of people and voters, even with his rushing yards, will see that and vote against him immediately because that's not an MVP season without the rushing stats. Missing games also will hurt him, as we'll see later. I'm going to look into some previous seasons and how that compares to this year. At number 1, I currently have Patrick Mahomes, who's 388 out of 580 for 4,720 yards, 37 touchdowns, 11 picks, 321 on the ground, and 4 touchdowns. He currently has over 850 more yards than Jalen Hurts between air and ground. And he has 6 more touchdowns. So 350 more yards, 6 more touchdowns, higher passer rating, identical completion percentage, identical yards per attempt, identical yards per completion, and a 78.7 QBR, which is 10 higher than Hurts and 9 higher than Josh Allen. He has 3 fourth quarter comebacks and 3 game-winning drives. The only thing that's benefiting Hurts over Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, right now is the fact that Hurts is 13-1. If the season ended today, it would be very tight. I think that Hurts might get it if the season ended today, but there are 2 more weeks left of the season where Patrick Mahomes' stats will increase even higher. I looked at a bunch of past NFL seasons to try and see any similarities that I could draw between previous seasons and this year to see if Jalen Hurts or Mahomes has the edge. So I found 5 seasons that I found relevant. 2 of them supported Hurts and 3 of them supported Mahomes. The first 2, the first one is, I forget exactly which, 2009, I believe. Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Peyton Manning won the NFL MVP over Drew Brees because he had an extra 100 yards. He had 1 less touchdown, but he had 5 more interceptions. He was 14-2 and Brees was 13-2, but Manning really didn't play the last 2 games of the season. He was 14-0. And then he started the other 2 games to get some playing time, but he didn't play the full game. They didn't try to win. They had the number 1 seed secured, and they were just making sure that he wasn't dead when the playoffs started. So Manning was 14-0 essentially that year. Drew Brees was 13-2. Although Drew Brees had better stats overall in general, he had the highest pass rating of the year. He had less interceptions. He had more touchdowns and more yards a game. They gave it to Peyton Manning because he had 7 game-winning drives because he was 14-0. And the game-winning drives, again, I think was the major tiebreaker there. If he was 14-0 and Drew Brees was 13-2 with better stats, I'm not exactly sure what would have happened. But the 7 fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives are key. That's something that Jalen Hurts does not have. But again, it's the record in this one that also is a factor. The other season, I believe this is 2011. Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, Tom Brady. Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers had 46 and 45 touchdowns. Drew Brees had 830 more yards than Aaron Rodgers that season, and an extra touchdown, but he had 8 more interceptions. this difference, and Aaron Rodgers had a better record. So 14-1, he missed a game, way less interceptions, but less touchdowns and yards. There's an 800 yardage difference and a 1 touchdown difference here between the 13-3 player and the 14-1 player. If Mahomes finishes 14-3 and Hurts finishes 13-1, this would be pretty identical, but Hurts is missing more games than Rodgers did. Rodgers only missed 1 game. Rodgers also had an 122.5 passer rating compared to Drew Brees' 110 passer rating. Jalen Hurts does not have an 122 passer rating. Mahomes and Hurts have an identical passer rating. So the only difference, and Aaron Rodgers had much better passing efficiency stats this season as well. The only major difference here is the interceptions in between Mahomes and Hurts, whereas with Aaron Rodgers, it was all passing efficiency stats. Interceptions, he was 14-1. There's a lot more factors at play, although this season does favor Hurts. There's 3 seasons I found that favored Patrick Mahomes in this MVP race. The first one is 2017, Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, and Aaron Rodgers. Matt Ryan and Tom Brady had the 2 highest pass ratings. Tom Brady was 11-1, Matt Ryan was 11-5. Matt Ryan's record is worse than Patrick Mahomes' record is this year, and Tom Brady's record is identical to Jalen Hurts' record this year. Brady missed 4 games due to suspension. Jalen Hurts will be missing 3 games due to injury. There is a significant difference there between suspension and injury. I'm not sure if you're even allowed to get MVP if you are suspended, even if it's only a 1 or 2 game suspension. I'm not sure how that works. But the suspension might have hurt Brady more than missing the games. But it's still 4 games versus 3. The 3 is closer to 4 than it is to the 1 with Aaron Rodgers. Brady had 10 less touchdowns and 1,400 less yards. Currently, Jalen Hurts has 6 less touchdowns and 800 less yards. 2 more games later, if Mahomes plays how he's been playing for the rest of the season for the last 2 games, then he'll have 1,400 more yards and 10 more touchdowns, which will be the exact same difference that Matt Ryan had over Tom Brady in that season. Tom Brady had 2 interceptions to Matt Ryan's 7. Obviously, part of that's missing the games. They had a pretty identical pass rating. They had pretty identical efficiency stats. Matt Ryan's were slightly better. But overall, this is about as close as you're going to get to the Mahomes-Jalen Hurts argument. This is the closest season of the 3 of them that I have here. 79.6 QBR for both quarterbacks, identical. And they gave it to Matt Ryan. And then the fourth quarter comebacks and game-winning drives is a non-factor in this one. It's a non-factor because neither of them had them. Dak Prescott had them, but he didn't have the stats. He had 23 touchdowns. The next season is Russell Wilson, Carson Wentz, Tom Brady, Matthew Stafford. Again, this one includes Tom Brady and Carson Wentz. And once again, the quarterback that played the full season got the MVP. Carson Wentz played 13 out of 16 games, which is identical to Jalen Hurts playing 13 out of 17 games, or 14 out of 17 games. Tom Brady had 1,300 more yards than Jalen Hurts did, and 1 less touchdown. One less touchdown, 1,300 more yards. And a worse record, technically, by record percentage. 7 interceptions for Carson Wentz, 8 for Tom Brady. And Tom Brady had a slightly higher pass rating, which is what Mahomes had, even though Carson Wentz had slightly higher efficiency metrics. This, I think, is the biggest season that supports Patrick Mahomes. If Carson Wentz doesn't get MVP this season, then Jalen Hurts will not get MVP in 2022. Carson Wentz had more touchdowns at the end of the year. He had 1,300 less yards, but 3 of them were on the ground. He had 300 on the ground, so he had 1,000 less total yards. But he had an extra touchdown, and they still gave it to Tom Brady because Tom Brady played the full season. And that shows you that 3 games is more significant than 1 game or 2 games. And with Aaron Rodgers 14-1, sure, he missed 1 game. It's 1 game. Peyton Manning, he didn't play the full game of those last 2 games, but he played some of them, and he was 14-0. And then the last one I was just kind of including in there because this is the only season I could find about a running quarterback in the MVP race that didn't win it. Lamar Jackson won in a landslide. It wasn't even close. All of Steve Young's wins were not even close. Cam Newton's season, not even close. those were all runaways. This was not a runaway, obviously, by Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning won over Steve McNair, who missed 2 games. Obviously, Steve McNair's record is not as good as Jalen Hurts, so that hurts him in the situation, but it was an 1,000 yardage difference. There was a 1 touchdown difference because Steve McNair had 1 less had 4 rushing touchdowns. So the yardage difference was actually closer to 500 after the rushing yardage. There was a 1 touchdown difference. Steve McNair had better passing efficiency. He had less interceptions. He had a higher passer rating. He had everything going for him, but he missed 2 games. He had 1 less touchdown. He had less yards. And because of that, Peyton Manning won the MVP because he played 2 more games. Obviously, Steve McNair did not have the same record that Hurts does this season, but it still did impact the MVP race. So, and again, Peyton Manning had 3 fourth-quarter comebacks and 4 game-winning drives. This season, Mahomes is 3-3, and Hurts has 1-2. So, those are my thoughts on the MVP race for this season. I currently have Patrick Mahomes over Jalen Hurts in my prediction based on the past seasons, based off of how I think the voters are going to vote, and based off of how their seasons have gone so far. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm very excited to hear it, and I think that this will be a really interesting finale to this year's 2022 NFL MVP. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace out.